What are the downsides of weed that people don't talk about? As a pretty consistent weed smoker, I don't like when people say that weed isn't addicting. You're right in saying that it's not addictive chemically like nicotine or something. You can still get addicted to not being sober. I've noticed after the initial uptick in chatter, people tend to get really quiet and zoned out in their own thoughts. When I used to smoke it, I found it had a dulling effect on my personality and conversational skills after the fact, too. It can become your only personality trait. Demotivation in heavy consumers. It is fine in moderation, but multiple times per day seems to suck the ambition from most people I've seen, including myself long ago. Inhaling any type of smoke at all isn't good for your lungs, and that shit's expensive. It makes you okay with being just okay. One thing that I never see brought up is the effect of marijuana on dreaming. Marijuana use can prevent the user from dreaming during regular sleep. When the user stops using marijuana for a while, they can experience night after night of extremely vivid dreams. I can only speak for my own experience, but I have heard this echoed by a company worker's dad who started smoking again because he couldn't handle having acid trip dreams every night. I suspect that marijuana has some potent effect on REM sleep that will remain underdocumented until it is descheduled and more thorough research can be done. Edit. Wow. I was not expecting this to get such a reaction. Thanks for the silver /elves. I smoked every day for about 10 years, minus about 6 months in all that, as I needed to be clean for a drug test for a job. I know weed starts off amazing and fun, but after becoming a habitual smoker it turns into a crux that's hard to shake. It's not that it's super addicting, it's just nothing is as fun as being high, so you want to be high all the time. It dulls feelings but highlights feelings of existentialism which can sometimes be overbearing. I would also feel stuck in my life a lot. Like it would be hard to make changes, but I would want better things for myself, but it always seemed impossible to achieve. I did have problems with breathing, but I have a history of asthma and took up Tai Chi to compensate, which I found really enjoyable, and it helped me to slow down greatly on smoking. The one most annoying thing with being a smoker is your tolerance level goes way up, so even though you are smoking you aren't getting that high you used to get. Just a mind-numbing insomnia almost. I also had a loss of appetite over time and ate less. It also made me feel comfortable with where I was in life, and I had a lack of motivation. Though some days, like once a month or two, it could really motivate you to do something, but that would wither away quickly. Overall, I would recommend it only at parties or every once in a while, but I have quit a while ago and never want to go back to being a daily smoker. Also, me being an expectant mother now has changed my feelings towards it. I don't want my kids growing up around it or around me being high. I feel they should find that on their own if they want, and I shouldn't influence them to think it's okay. Edit. Wow, a lot of comments on this, which is surprising for me. I will try to answer you all over time. Thank you everyone for the gold and silver and such. I just want to say I did mean crux instead of crutch. Like I said, we'd highlighted thoughts and feelings of existentialism in my life. So I felt like a martyr almost on my quest to find answers to these questions of mine. I felt like I was crucifying myself for a righteous cause to know what I wanted to know. Also, a lot of people saying I described addiction when I stated weed wasn't addicting. I always thought if something was addicting you couldn't quit cold turkey due to your body going into shock or death. Or that you couldn't quit without help like methadone for heroin addicts or something. Since I quit weed cold turkey, and when I wanted to, I didn't think it was addicting. Like I choose to eat eggs every day for breakfast. It's not addicting, but I like it and choose it. But maybe I am addicted. Lol, just stating. Also, I did psychedelics for a period of time throughout all this. So maybe this changed how weed affected me over time. I had a lot of bad trips and can't even think about tripping again. God bless all of you guys though. I know weed affects people differently. I just wanted to share how it affected me over time. I don't think it should be illegal though, and I think people should be free to use it as they see fit. I believe everyone has the personal liberty to choose their own path. Edit 2. Anyone looking for advice on how to stop, I recommend changing your routine. My husband and I took up different activities like taking the dogs to the dog park, going to hockey games, spending more time with family, going to the beach, tai chi, etc. We are both homebodies, but we decided to go out and be more active, and it helped to break the routine of sitting at home smoking. Find new stuff to do instead. Weed is for people that have found their way in life. It's not for people who are looking for the way. My uncle. In other words, as fun as it may seem when you're young, get your sheet together first: education, family, career, etc. Edit. Thanks for the gilding, kind strangers, and for those of you who have taken orphans. Relax. I'm glad it all worked out for you, or my sympathies if it didn't. Regardless, we can for most people take your motivation and drive away if it's taken up and consumed in high volumes at an early age. It's just think it isn't a good idea, I think, if you're ripping bongs every day from 16 up through high school. I would say that as a long-term smoker that wants out, it has made me incredibly boring. If I have evening plans on the weekend but smoke anything in the day, then I'm far more prone to cancelling those nighttime plans. If I do attend those plans after smoking in the day, then I feel I'm not entirely there. Awkward silences. Jokes don't land. Keeping a conversation going becomes 10x harder, and I'm inevitably just waiting for an appropriate time to leave. Overall, it just kinda makes you socially awkward and super boring to be around in a social setting. Just from my experience. Been smoking every day for the past decade, and I'm recently realizing that being too introspective can be a negative thing at times, minus I've been thinking too much and acting too little. It seems like most of my response has already been said, but I want to reiterate 3 major observations what I've noticed from my own semi-frequently weed consumption. 1. Demotivation. The impact from weed on motivation levels I find is in 2 parts. The first part is when you initially consume the weed. Most people fall into a habit of eating food and watching something on TV. The second part I found is the next morning. I experience a type of weed hangover. The following morning, I feel more groggy and more susceptible to just loading around the following day. 2. Anxiety. Things that aren't currently stressing you out may start to induce anxiety in you. While this isn't always the case, weed has the potential to worsen your mental state if you aren't careful. This impact became more pronounced when I smoked weed solo. Having other people around allowed me to be more present in the moment, whereas I was in my head when I was alone. 3. Food consumption. I found for me that continued weed use led to some unhealthy eating habits. The munchies are real, and for often that not you are craving food that is not considered healthy. If this becomes a more common occurrence, then your overall diet can go south quickly. It can trigger psychosis if you're susceptible to it already. Like anything else in the world, it can be addictive. Putting anything that's not air in your lungs is bad for you. It's really bad for developing brains, i.e. anyone under 25. Not having an appetite if you're not high. You have to smoke heavily though to get to that point. Greater than brain structure and function, minus a systematic review of 56 published neuroimaging studies of brain structure and function in adult cannabis users found consistent evidence of reduced hippocampal volume and lower hippocampal gray matter density in cannabis users relative to controls, and no evidence for changes in whole brain volume. Evidence for changes in other brain regions was inconsistent or inconclusive. 1. https://www.bnlmnigov.proxy.hsc.int.edu/pubmed. Term equals 28,498,718. Findings for other brain regions were inconsistent or inconclusive. Abnormalities of neuronal activity were observed even when cognitive task performance was normal, suggesting that cannabis users may need to engage different levels of neuronal activation to achieve normal performance. The hippocampus, among other things, is primarily responsible for memory. Habitual marijuana use changes neuron activity, requiring the brain to adapt to perform normal tasks. It's unclear if these adaptations come at a cost, but it's worth noting that brain function changes. Greater than cannabis-induced psychosis minus a national registry study that identified 1492 patients who received a diagnosis of cannabis-induced psychosis in the Danish Psychiatric Central Research Register between 1994 and 2014 and followed them through August 2014, found a 41.2%, 95% Chi 36.6 46.2 conversion rate to schizophrenia, with percent of men converting within 2.0 years and 50% of women within 4.4 years. 2. https://www.bnlmnigav.proxy.hsc.ent.edu/pubmed. Term equals 29,179,576. There is a significant hazard of developing schizophrenia for those with underlying family history of the disease, especially during adolescence. Greater than mood disorders, minus greater than depression. A 2014 meta-analysis of 14 prospective longitudinal studies that, controlled for depression at baseline, found that heavy cannabis users had a 1.6 to odds ratio, 95% Chi 1.21 to 2.16, for developing clinically diagnosed major depression, or depressive symptoms, compared with light or non-users. https://www.bnlmnigav.proxy.hsc.ent.edu/pubmed. Term equals 23,795,762. Greater than bipolar disorder. A meta-analysis of 2 studies of individuals with bipolar disorder found cannabis use associated with a threefold increased risk. Odds ratio equals 2.97, 95% Chi 1.80 4.90, for new onset of manic symptoms. https://www.bnlmnigav.proxy.hsc.ent.edu/pubmed. Term equals 25,285,897. Heavy marijuana use is associated with an increased risk of developing major depressive disorder. Struck rather than removed for transparency. I misinterpreted the study. Odds ratio does not imply that heavy marijuana use increases risk of depression, and marijuana is associated with those with bipolar disorder being several times more likely to develop mania. The list goes on to include anxiety disorders, lung problems, which should make sense when thinking of inhaling any kind of smoke or vaping fluid, cancer risks, cyclic vomiting syndrome, decreased male fertility, increased risk of tooth/gum disease. Marijuana won't kill you as fast as some other drugs/alcohol/other vices, but that's a far cry from calling it safe. There are likely ways to mitigate some of these risks, like reducing lung problems through use of edibles. But many of these complications from marijuana use stem from the cannabinoids in the system rather than the route of use. This also doesn't touch on the potential benefits of CBD, THC, etc. It's important to remember that when talking about any medicine that there are risks and benefits associated. E.g. aspirin can save your life in a heart attack but can cause stomach bleeding, so we give aspirin shortly after heart attack symptoms start, but we don't recommend taking aspirin daily, unless we do, because other factors complicate the picture. Medicine is complicated that way. Parts of marijuana may make for good medicine once it's further studied and the good things isolated, but it's extremely important to remember that being medicinal absolutely does not make it harmless in any way, shape or form. Edit. References appear blocked to some. Here are citations minus 1. Nader, D. R. and Sanchez, Z. M. Effects of regular cannabis use on neurocognition, brain structure, and function. A systematic review of findings in adults. The American Journal of Drug and Alcohol Abuse. 4-18, 2017. 2. Staza, M. S. K. Nordentoft, M. and Hjortha, C. Rates and predictors of conversion to schizophrenia or bipolar disorder following substance-induced psychosis. American Journal of Psychiatry, 175, 343-350, 2018. 3. Levran, S. et al., The Association Between Cannabis Use and Depression, a Systematic Review and Meta-Analysis of Longitudinal Studies. Psychological Medicine, 797-810, 2013. 4. Gibbs, M. et al., Cannabis Use and Mania Symptoms, a Systematic Review and Meta-Analysis. European Psychiatry, 1128, 2015. Subscribe, like and comment if you hate outros. Begging you to subscribe, like and comment.